My name is Bjarte Hauge. I am working at Jets Vacuum. I've been working there since 1995. I used to be a computer engineer. This is my first time in Israel. But I have been working in the Middle East back in the beginning of the 90s. So I'm kind of used to the climate. But still it's hot here. When we left Norway, it was 11 degrees. So it's a big difference from us. I would like to thank Yossi and Norit for taking so good care of us, at least so far. We are pleased to be here, and I'm pleased that you have taken the time to be here with us, because this is something new. This technology. It's not quite new, but it's quite new in Israel. I would say a few words about the company I'm representing. I will say a few words about the technology itself. I will show you a short video that explains a little bit about our technology. I will say something about water saving, and also something about a few references that we have. If you have any question, you can interrupt me anytime. Otherwise, we can make a summary at the end, and you can ask me the question you like to ask. I was in Asia. I have traveled a lot in Asia. Been a lot in Korea, South Korea, and in China. And once there was a presentation, and at the end, one of my colleagues asked the audience that if there was any question. And there was a guy that lifted his hand and said, "Yes, sir. Do you have children?" And he said, "Yes." "How many?" So that has nothing to do with the presentation, but he still had questions, so you can ask me whatever you like. This is our location. This is the western part of Norway. It's not a big area, but we have the mountain and we have the fjords, and during the winter time this is white. This is our founder of the company. It was established back in '86. His name is Ola Hofseth. He is still with us partly. He has now turned 71, but he is still working like 3 days a week with us. He's not only the founder of the company, he's the founder of the technology as well. And this is where it started. I will not go into details, but it has changed a little bit, and it has been developed in the way that it is now, that you see like it's a monoblock. We call it a monoblock. The motor is on the shaft for the pump itself. So this is how the vacuumerator, which is the heart of our technology, looks like today. So there has been kind of development regarding this. A few words about the company. We are located, we have the main office, the head office in Norway. We have some locations as well. We have one in China, where we have some production. We just built a new building in Saldus in Latvia, not very far from Norway. And we have one location in Ratzeburg in Germany, where we have some production and logistics. And we have two persons, this is historically background, but they are sitting in Bergen, 6-hour drive south of where we are located with the head office. So this is about what Jets is. We take seriously quality. We are certified by ISO 9001 and 14001, and we are member of the BREEAM organization. This is where our representatives are located. We have agents around the world, or distributors. We are divided into two different kind of markets. One is for the ship or the marine market, and the other one, which me and Magnus is representing, is the land and transport sector. When we talk about vacuum toilet, we always come to the question about water resources. A lot of places in the world there are lack of water, and the groundwater is sinking every year, and we have to do something about the water supply. It's different way to handle this around the world. The fact is that 75% of the surface of the earth is water, but it's only 1% that is drinkable. And we use a lot of water for not only for drinking, but for other kind of purposes. I just read an article about there is a big desalination plant in the south of Israel. It makes 13% of the fresh water for Israel domestic consumers. It is like 40,000 membranes. This is osmosis, reverse osmosis system. So it takes water from the Mediterranean and it makes fresh water out of it. It occupies 75,000 square meters of land, and it needs its own power station in order to run this configuration. It produced more than 100 million cubic meters of water a year. And I read also it will increase to 750 million cubic meter a year by the year of 2020. If all these customers was connected to vacuum toilet, it would save 25% of this water. So it's sustainable. I mean, it's a lot of water saved when you talk about this amount of water. And you have desalination plants. A lot of them are in the Gulf area, but also other places around the world. In the development country, they cannot afford this, because it's very high energy consuming. So, how can we continue to flush so much fresh water down the drain? This is the question that we are asking ourselves in order to develop a system that can do a little bit about this problem that we are facing. Now, we have a system that consumes air and a little bit of water. So in a normal gravity toilet, you use water for two purposes: to clean the bore and to flush the sewage down the drain for transportation in the pipelines. So what we have done, we replaced the water, which is most of the water used in the gravity toilet, we replaced that with air, because air is free, air is cheap. So yeah, so this is our idea. So we stick with a little bit of water in order to do the cleaning of the water. That's the concept about vacuum. So this is a normal gravity toilet consumption in Norway. This is 6 liters. And for a vacuum toilet, it's only 1 more, like half of it. Now, if we compare gravity toilet versus vacuum toilets, there are some advantages. I have mentioned the fact that it uses less water, much less water, like this 60 to 90% savings. But it's not only the water, it's the handling of the sewage that will also decrease. The volume of the sewage goes from like per person to 13 to 41 cubic meter. If we stay with 6 liters, it's 30 cubic meter a year. And it goes down to 2. Piping dimension is something else. We use thinner pipes, which gives the flexibility. And it's not always the water that counts when installing, or the customer is choosing vacuum toilets. It's not only the water saving. In Norway, for that fact, we should never install vacuum toilets because the water is so cheap, and we have enough. But there are some other aspects about the vacuum toilets that gives flexibility that you cannot have in a normal gravity toilet system. So there are different kind of purposes to install vacuum toilets. So here is like a summary for choosing vacuum toilets. This is like a flexibility regarding positioning. You don't need to have the bathroom above each other, and the piping and penetration in the concrete. Small diameter pipes. Scope for green credits. We talk about greens and leads, and these kind of things. And it's a future. We think about it as a future product because it's a sustainable technology that gives meaning for the future. We are not only talking about, you know, when they launch new cars and new motors and these kind of things, they are talking about the saving of 5%, which is good. They can save fuel like 5%. Volkswagen is blue technology, blue motion. Here we are talking about 90% saving, which is a big difference. This is just to show you a little bit about the system. The piping can go down, but it can also have rising pipes, which gives you the flexibility that we were talking about. Now, at the end station or after the vacuum system, it can be pumped to different kind of end stations. It can be a sewage treatment plant. It can be a sewage tank. It can pump directly into a public sewer. And it can be handled as biogas, development of biogas. This is a very good product. It's a good product to produce biogas because it's so what do you call it? It's high. It's concentrated. Yeah, concentrated sewage. It's not diluted with a lot of grey water, which I should talk about a little bit later. And the user will use it as a normal toilet. Press the switch, press the button, and you can hear it by the noise. Now this is the heart of our system that we were talking about. This is a monoblock vacuumerator. It's in all our system. It ranges from the small one that you can take under your arm, or a big one that you cannot move by hand. I think I have a video here that I can show you. It's a video, it's a couple of minutes, just showing you how the system is working. just a few words about the vacuumerator. This is named the vacuumerator. It's a little bit difficult sometimes, but it's based on the vacuum and macerator, vacuumerator. And this pump is doing three things in one go. It has a knife or a macerator that is macerating the paper and the sewage in the first chamber. In this middle chamber that you see here, it generates the vacuum and it pumps the sewage where it should go to. So every time this pump is running, it's doing these three things. It comes in a different variety from the small one to the big one. This big one has a capacity of 2,500 flushes an hour. It's big, huge, you must be very strong to move this one. And we have different kind of modules that we put together 1 or 2 or 3 pumps in order to increase the capacity. This is from an installation. I will tell you a little bit more about this. This is from an installation in Sao Paulo, for the university in Sao Paulo. The toilet comes in some different models. Mainly it's porcelain that we are supplying, but also stainless steel or squat pans for some markets. It's a wall-hang toilet, or it can be a floor-mounted toilet. And the toilet looks like a normal toilet. As you can see, there is no cistern on top of it, so it has a direct connection with water. So therefore, when you have flush, it's ready immediately. For the second flush, it's ready. And there is a valve inside for open and closing. In a lot of these systems, we are talking about separation of black water, which is the sewage coming from the toilet, and the grey water, which is all the other water that is used in the building, like the shower or the sink or the kitchen or whatever. We believe in this because it's, as soon as you mix things with sewage coming from the toilet, everything is sewage. But there is an easier way to handle grey water if you don't mix it with the sewage. So there is systems to take care of the grey water if you want to reuse the water for fertilizing locally, for instance. There are some systems also that reuse the water for flushing of the toilets. So it gives a new perspective by thinking this way.
It's not a normal system. It's another development.
We have small systems that handles grey water. But for big installation, we don't supply the grey water handling system. There's a lot of other companies that are doing grey water handling. We are working with a big project in London. And they are talking about not use any water from the public water supply for flushing the toilets. So they should reuse all the grey water it should be used for flushing the pools. And they are into this high standard of, I'm not quite sure if it's Brian or LEED. It's a platinum or something like that. Our history goes from '86, so the part of the market that we have been working mostly with is the marine market. And that is like 75% of 75% of our new building market. The rest is for the land and transport market. And we are supplying for different kind of offshore vessels, carriers, marine, the yacht market. In Holland and Italy, they build a lot of yachts. And for the cruise market, which is the largest installation that we have, I think the largest installation is 3,800 toilets for one ship. That's the biggest one that we have. And that counts approximately, I think, around 10,000 people on board that ship. This is like a city. I don't know if anybody, one of you, been to cruise?
Yeah.
Yeah? The land and transport market is the biggest installation that we have there is in São Paulo, Brazil. This is Santana Bank in the middle of São Paulo. This is a 32 storage high building. It's around 100,000 square meters. And it has 480 toilets in this building. I can't remember how many people are working. It's a lot. And our market for land and transport is different. It's divided into 4 different segments. One of them is mobile systems, like for event market, for the military, this is from Haiti. Big problems in Haiti during the earthquake there. They had this contaminated water from their latrines, and that gave them a big headache. So we supplied some systems for Haiti, temporary system. We also have some systems for supermarket to handle the condensated water from the freezers, and also commercial buildings. This is a prison in Sweden, and they call the toilet cell phone, because they were communicating via the piping of the toilets. So they removed the water from the water lock in the toilet, and they communicated, and they even transported drugs and things from one cell to the other. So that's why they call the toilet cell phone. But for vacuum toilets, that's not possible. This is a hospital in Belfast, where they handle radioactive isotopes from people that are treated for cancer. So they need to handle that in 60 days. They have to store it for 60 days or something like that before it's discharged public sewer. And we have some small systems for cabins, for trains and buses. So this is what we are, how we are organized for the land and transport market, divided into different segments. This is a picture from Holland. This is a festival, this is a rock festival or something like that. 55,000 people, I think, was here. And normally what we saw in Jerusalem the other day is these chemical toilets that is smelling, especially when had hot weather. So they choose to use vacuum toilets, so they made a system based on big vacuum stations and toilets that were connected together. Now, a little bit about the technology. As I mentioned, we use exactly the same technology for all our segments that we are working on. It's just the size of the system that is different. This pump looks exactly the same internally as the big one. The toilet valve or the toilet is exactly the same here in this building as in the cruise vessels. This is another reference that we are very proud of. This is the biggest vacuum toilet installation in the world, onshore. This is Castelao Stadium in Fortaleza, in North Brazil. And this stadium was originally built back in the 70s, and they they renovated completely and they put in vacuum toilets. Now it has a capacity of 72,000 spectators, and problem number one in such an installation is the water consumption in the break, because everybody has been drinking beer and everybody wants to go to the toilet. And FIFA, they have a regulation that says that a toilet should not be a farther distance from every seat than 35 meters. So there's a lot of toilets. It's more than 900 toilets in this installation. And the problem is that everybody wants to go to the toilet at the same time. And then there is not enough water from the public supply. So they need to build huge tanks inside that goes several in order to have enough water during this 10-15 minutes. So this water consumption has been reduced for the toilet by 90%. So this gives them a totally different approach for this problem. This was made for the World Cup next year. So I was there last year when they were half finished. The installation of the toilet has, like, half of it was finished. So it has been commissioned, it has been tested with 50,000 spectators, and it is working perfectly. So this is, and it's a nice picture. This is another reference. I think this was one of the first installations that we had in Brazil. That was in 2007. This is a university in Sao Paulo, Norway University. I think it is 22,000 students in 3 shifts going to this university. It was replaced 720 gravity toilets. And the water usage was reduced from 420,000 liters a day down to 60,000 liters a day, saving 360 k liters per day. And the reason is high water prices. The prices of water in Brazil is 16 times higher than in Norway. So this investment of installing vacuum toilets, it has a return of investment for 15 months. And after that 15 months, they start earning money for the water bill. I can't remember I had the calculation of the dollar, how much dollar they save, but I can't remember. But this was purely the reason for installing vacuum toilet. In this case, was water, definitely water saving. That was actually what I was thinking about telling you about jets and the technology. My intention was not to go so much into details about the products. Obviously, I don't understand your language, so maybe I have said a lot of things that have already been said. At least I don't know.
I guess it's mutual. It's the same with us. We don't understand Norwegian.
That's a private you don't know English.
Is there any questions? Yossi, he has been working with this for how many years? 4 years? 5 years. I mean, in order to launch a new concept, it's very difficult and it takes time. And it's a lot of obstacles. And one of the obstacles is the traditional technology. And you need a lot of guts in order to accept this technology and being the first one to install it. Even we know that this is a product that is good and it's working and it has references all over the world and it has been in service since '86. Still, there are some skepticism, and most of the skepticism is that we know what we have, we don't want to change.
What about using it for municipalities like the main pipes in the streets?
That is actually that's their own technology. I mean, it's companies, a couple of companies in the world that is specialized in that, and that is called outdoor transportation. And they use vacuum in order to transport it. But we have not been focusing on that part of the market, because in that case we are talking about huge projects. We are more or less talking about the work to put the pipings and these kind of things. So we have small outdoor installation, but not like big kilometers by kilometers.
What do you guess is the lifespan of this product? I mean, you've been active since '86, right? So it's less than 30 years, right? And we know how, I guess some people here know what's the lifespan of the traditional system, but what do you think is the lifespan of this one?
We are talking, if I can say a few words about service intervals and this kind of things. There are some moving parts, so obviously it needs to be handled. No doubt about that. Like a normal gravity toilet, there are some moving parts that is worn out after a certain time. We are talking about the toilet valve has a life cycle of 200,000 flushes. And 200,000 flushes is a lot in a private apartment. And it's a lot in a public area, but it doesn't last so long in a public. Like the mobile system, there is for a rock concert, there's a queue outside all the time. So it's continuously being flushed. The vacuumerator, there are a few parts also to be taken care of. And we have like a service interval for 6,000 hours. And this is not running all the time. It's only running when it's needed, yes? So the product itself, we are talking about life cycle as a normal toilet. That's what we are in our head. It should be the same quality as a normal toilet.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I did ask you when you don't no disrespect, but I'm not satisfied with the answer as it is. So I'll allow myself to ask again. Why is there no connection to regular sanitary devices? Or is it?
Sorry?
To connect to regular Vitra toilet, for example. Is it possible? And if not, why so?
Well, if you look at the toilet downstairs, it's special made for vacuum purpose. The output is not, what do you use here, 100 millimeter?
Yeah, usually.
100
So
4 inches.
4 inches is 100 millimeter. There it's 50 millimeter. There is no water lock in the bore. It's direct connected with water because you need a very little portion of water. That's the whole idea about vacuum toilet. So to answer your question, you cannot connect a normal toilet.
Sorry, on that subject, I'm clear. It would not. Well, it's a inventory game. If it will be a bigger dimension, there would not be enough pressure. I understand that. But in the entrance to a regular toilet, I can, I don't know, make a connection which will pass from one face, 4 inches to 2 inches, and I will have a bigger pressure in that particular point. Is there no possible way to connect a regular toilet to a system?
There are only one way but that is not something that we recommend. And that is to, the vacuum piping is on the vacuum at all time. If you connect that directly to the normal traditional bore, it will leak through the water lock.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a vacuum valve in order to close the vacuum pipe from the atmospheric pipe. That's for sure.
Okay.
Yes, but there is one way, and that is to connect the gravity toilet to a tank that is connected with a valve to the vacuum system. But it will not be a system that we recommend in a building, like installing for one or two toilets, maybe, because that is something you need, especially that location.
Well, my question basically originates from the need for the private use, mainly high volume residential buildings, let's say 80 or 100 occupants, and then some, or maybe most of them, would like to choose their sanitary devices as well as the covering of the walls. And the problem with selling it sometimes as a whole project is not the sanitation, it's not the tubes and the saving of the water. It's the client, the end client in that particular apartment, which will actually say, I don't want it because I can't choose the design of my house. And that's a problem for me. So the question, although I really believe in the product, is how do I sell it to a regular end user, and not as a project which is a commercial. I, as a planner, can impose my will on a committee, on whoever, and say, okay, it's a public place and we save water. When I find myself struggling with regular people with their own houses, I can't use the same excuses or the same causes to sell the system with all its benefits. So, do you have any input on that?
I think the approach is different, and the argument is different from project to project. Sometimes it's water saving is the issue, and the customer will go for it because it will save him from money. The investment is good. Sometimes it's a different story. It can be what you say, the freedom of doing the positioning of the bathroom inside in a different way compared to the normal traditional technology. So you have to choose, and you cannot sell it because of the price, because obviously the price is much higher than the traditional toilet. So there must be like a good argument for that customer, and in Norway I don't think we have sold this system to a private home because of water saving yet. Different kind of arguments. I mean, flexibility, renovation project, thinner pipe, all these kind of other arguments.
Thank you.
One last question. So you're marketing this as an ecological product. And obviously it is because it saves all this water, but I guess it uses more energy, right, than the regular gravity system.
It uses in the toilet itself, or for the pumps, it uses a little bit more energy. And for one person, if that person goes to this toilet every day, 6 times a day, it generates 4 kilowatt hours. Well, in Norway is that 2 kroner? Just you have to help me. 4.5 of your local, something like that.
How much? 4 kroner?
4 kroner.
4 kroner is
2.5. 2.5. Yes.
How does that work?
קילוואט 64 אגורות.
64.
64 אגורות.
For us, it would be a little over, maybe 3 shekels.
if you look at it in the total perspective, obviously somebody has to use more energy because you use more water in traditional toilet. Both when it comes to sewage, but it's not on your bill maybe, and the water in order to pump.
And is there any emphasis on greener materials while producing this, or?
How should I say that? It's I don't think particularly there is a strategy around using different kind of materials that is good for the green, for the environment, things like this. But we are not using anything that is harming the environment. So we have this kind of certificate, this green certificates that we use. Yes.
I have a question in regards to her previous question. How much more efficient in the final cost analysis does it become in a larger scale project that I see that you guys have in more common, such as in the cruise ship, which holds a large traffic base within the city compared to a small house? Or how much more does it save per cost the system as the project gets larger?
We say, to take Norway as an example, one person uses 200 liters of water a day, and you can save 25% of that water. Not only for the toilet, but 25% of the total water usage. When it comes to large installations, the calculation will vary, depending on where you are doing the calculation, number of people, the size of the installation. So there's a lot of different calculations, but we have done some examples just to show. The water price is something different in Norway than in Israel. It varies around. But obviously, the calculation is better as the number of people is growing.
First is the design of the toilet. I saw just a master that it's only one design of the toilet. I think in the toilet we talked about we didn't have any other solution. I knew that when I saw the solution, it's the only solution that we can work, so it was very obvious. We take time to convince everybody this is the only solution, so I told Yossi, sit tight and be okay. And eventually, but then we have two problems. First of all, the design. Design is very, let's say, rough, okay? We have other toilets, other designs, which is more, let's say, nicer.
Modern.
That's the first question. And the second question is that I was very concerned about the noise. The noise is something which normal people are not accustomed to. And also told me that you can control the noise, you can lower the noise, but still it's very large noise. And in a public place, like in the stadium, you don't mind about the noise. Let's say in Rothschild, when I saw the first, you can hear the noise of the system, of the vacuum. You have to invest in better doors and to do lots of things acoustically in order that it will not get out, but still, that's a very big noise. So, what can you do? Is it possible to reduce the noise so to be, let's say, white?
Your first question, yes, we are working on different models. So we will come with a new series for wall hang toilet floor-mounted toilet and also urinals that will be the same fabric. I don't know what kind of toilets we are talking about here. Just it's 59 and 50.
It's all 59.
Yeah. Then we have the charm toilets as well. That's a different.
That's what they're going to bring there now. What we are going to bring to the hotel is the new model that you didn't see yet, but the hotel is going to get the charm, the new one. It's a better looking toilet.
Better looking. And what about the noise?
The noise, I can spend a lot of time talking about noise. And you are absolutely right. And I also agree with you. In certain installations, they don't mind. I mean, in a football stadium, they don't mind. In a hotel, it's different because people are sleeping next door to me. Now, I have the impression that the noise from the vacuum toilet is a subject mainly because it's noise and it's different noise from what we are used to. I mean, if I
Stronger. You know it's strong.
it's if you have this measurement, it's decibel measurement. If you slam a door in that hotel room, it's more noisy than flushing the door. But you are used to have a door slammed. But you are not used to this noise from the toilet, and therefore we are reacting. And you're true, it's different because the noise of the door of the flushing, it's so sharp, so it's unexpected in a way. If you use this hair, what do you call it? This hair dryer. Hair dryer is more noisy in a hotel room than the door, flushing the door.
No, but it's different.
It's different. You're right. It's different.
No, I tell you, it's correct that you are used to the noise. I understand it perfectly. But let's talk about the hotel. Okay? So perfectly, it was what concerned me. Well, and I agree with you that if somebody goes to sleep and I want to take a shower, go to the toilets, so the decibels, the water of the shower or the hair dryer will be, let's say, for the argument the same. And it's okay. And if it's, let's say, not in the middle of the night, when somebody, let's say, is watching television in the room and you are going to bed, I agree with you. But what I was concerned is some people get up in the middle of the night and just want to go to the toilet and go back. Then with the so it can waken your partner or which is sleeping. And the problem is this is a small country. And the problem with the small country is that when you do something good, everybody knows. Like this. And when you do something bad, it's the same. Now we get the stigma. So this is the hotel with the noisy toilets. You understand? And you will have problem selling the rooms. Now when I'm talking about I'm going to build a water park. I'm going to use this same system because it's like in the stadium. On Saturdays we have 6,000 people, 5,000 people. So there's no problem of the noise. I'm only have to argue about the price, but not about the noise. Now I have another office building, which I'm very concerned. I didn't even ask him because when somebody's working and there are lots of toilets, say, only 5,000 square meters of office building, let's divide it. 5,000 square meters. 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 by 15, so you know how many people are working. And everybody wants, some of the offices wants the toilets inside. They don't want to be the public ones. So what you need is public ones, and next door. I'm afraid, in particular, in the office of the asylum, push the button, and it's an open space company. Everybody will hear. Now, if they see you cut on the toilet, you might not feel even comfortable.
A little bit. The hotel. These are the biggest hotels in the world.
Okay.
10,000 passengers.
Yes.
Yes? Cabin next to everybody.
Yes.
Yes? This is like a sailing hotel, and if this was a huge, big problems, they would not accept it. But
they can do it otherwise.
They can. They can do gravity toilet if they like. But they are not building a single ship with gravity toilet anymore. And if this was a problem, I understand your concern, because this is new to you. But it is accepted as a standard. It has been accepted as a standard. And it's accepted by the visitors that is living in these cabins.
It's the same noise for each system.
Exactly the same.
The same decibels.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's 500 toilets or 10 toilets.
In principle, no, but there are some varieties that has effects on the noise level. For instance, the cabin or the room itself. If it's a small room, nothing on the walls that can absorb the sound. This is varieties. There are also varieties of the pipings, how the pipings are done, how many toilets is next to each other, transport pockets, into technical details also. We know that if you connect a toilet to a very large pipe, the noise is increasing. If you have a big volume. So what we have done in Jose's installation is 63 millimeters. That is obviously what we should do in that case. But the noise is as it is. It's not so much I can do about it for the technology, speaking about the technology.
There is another thing, if you go up to the pipe or go down, it's decreasing the noise.
There is a little bit difference, but it's not very much. I think the biggest variation of the noise is the room.
Is there?
The room itself.
But usually toilets are not open in a hotel, but in the office they are the same size.
Yeah.
Now if there is the partitions, they're not from the floor to the ceiling. I don't know how to call it in English. But, it's made by Trespa, So it's all connected. So we have to make different kind of isolation. Understood.